Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Brutes, where we tell the stories behind your favorite beer. This is Sound Guy Ryan, and joining me today is Matt.
That's right. We didn't just record last week's episode back to back, or did we?
Why would we do that?
Erica's still at work.
Yeah.
It's been a week, and Erica's still there. We haven't seen her in a week.
I know, it's crazy.
She's all right. We have a great episode this week. We are talking to Colleen from Exhibit A Brewing. We are talking to Mel from Nightshift Brewing. And we are also talking to Britt from Remnant Brewing about their Pink Boots Scholarship for the Cornell course Women in Leadership. And it's a really awesome episode. I'm so excited for this to be released.
Yeah, I took away a lot from this, just like the little, snippets of what they were telling us. I think everyone and all our listeners will as well, especially if they're in a leadership position or hope to be in a leadership position at some point.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the situations that they talk about in this episode can relate to every aspect of life, right? Not just the brewing industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they were in this course, and it wasn't just people in beer. It was, individuals in nursing and business and in other
law
enforcement walks of life. So very, very informative episode. And that's why we're going to have a little bit of a shorter intro this week, because it's a little bit of a longer one.
It is.
But it's great content, and we think our listeners are going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So Ryan, why don't we just plug our social medias and, get on with the episode?
Yeah, so we got Facebook and Instagram at Brutes, and then you can go to patreon.com, www.patreon.com/Brutes podcast.
That's right.
And subscribe to one of the 3 tiers that we have.
That's right. And we are going to be releasing some merch in the next couple of weeks. But if there is some merch that you would like to see that we aren't offering, we are going to be opening up a store on our website, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So you can let us know what you want to see. I know we've gotten a lot of requests for hats and pins. So, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with hats.
I would love to do hats. I would like to do a camo hat.
That'd be pretty cool.
I know. So, take it away, Sound Guy Ryan.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, everyone. We are here at a very secret, echoey room.
But it's the best secret echoey room.
Yeah, and we called this room in a previous episode, intro, the Cathedral of Beer.
Indeed.
Just because it has tall ceilings and
we really like the beer here.
And cool lamp. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Ryan doesn't have a microphone today, so he feels
He's just
going to
be yelling in the corner.
You can speak into mine if you want.
I'd much rather edit this. All right. I'm sure he would.
Cool.
And a couple of months ago, we did an episode with Kenzie.
We did.
Yeah, talking about her Pink Boots scholarship. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to our episodes, we try to talk about Pink Boots every week that we can. It got a little tough during the pandemic because, truth be told,
not much was happening
during the pandemic,
exactly.
Other than doctors and scientists,
were they even meeting?
I don't want to get into politics, but yeah, but maybe, yeah. And I was telling our guests this week that I was excited for this one just because I learned a lot with that episode, and Kenzie had the best Boston accent that I've probably ever
She was so much fun to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was wicked awesome, you mean? Yeah. No, but Erica, who do we have here today?
Oh, so many amazing people. We have Mel, and we have Brittany, and
Colleen. Brittany is a 2-time guest.
Indeed.
You may have
Welcome
heard
back.
her on our Remnant episode. Were you on 3 times or 2 times?
Just 2.
2.
Okay.
You weren't at the collaborate. Yeah, we couldn't.
We'll get you on for a third.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Third time's the charm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And Colleen, you work at Exhibit A. Exhibit A, that's right.
Nice.
I knew that this morning, and then this right now, after jury duty and a couple beers,
It's gone. It's gone.
If I can remember
All
anything.
knowledge.
And Mel, you work at Nightshift, correct?
Yes.
Cool. So now we know everything about you. Podcast over. Great.
Let's drink some beer.
No,
Yeah,
but
let's drink some beer.
More beer.
as we'd like to start every episode,
Yeah.
we'll ask you guys your roles at those breweries and your first memory of beer. We'll start with, I guess.
I warned them.
Yeah. Okay, good. Great. Perfect.
It's like they asked this weird-ass question at the beginning.
So I'll start. My name's Brittany. I'm the general manager at Remnant Brewing in Somerville. And my first memory of beer, well, I already told you guys that one last time.
Yeah. So what's your second memory?
Okay, my good memory of beer.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, totally. So the first time I think that I was maybe not quite 21, and my friend bought beer. He was 21.
Good.
And it was Hoegaarden. And it came with the little foil tops. And we opened that Hoegaarden, and it was the fanciest beer ever, because my previous beer had only been PBR. And
Which is still like fancy, and it won awards. So
yeah, it's true. Not
Doesn't
not
look
not,
very fancy.
not award winning.
yeah, not award winning.
Yeah, that was a great memory. It was a really fun time, and I felt like I was breaking the rules.
You
Yeah,
were so cool. Awesome.
Brad, how do you follow that up?
Yeah,
I don't
sorry
know.
guys.
Not possible.
Podcast over.
Done. Mic drop. But don't drop the mic, please. Okay.
I'm Colleen. I am the brewery operations manager at Exhibit A Brewing in Framingham. My first beer, I was about 4 or 5. It's a nice,
good old days.
nice sip of Jenny cream ale off Dad's lap.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
That green can slaps.
I don't know. There's no foil. It's really not.
Yeah.
My first actual memory of beer, though, I was 15 at a Christmas party with my family and a bunch of families, and we stole a case
A whole
of
case.
Guinness Draft
Yeah.
and left with it.
How'd you feel the morning after?
And got shit-faced on Guinness Draft, and it was awful. Just awful.
Nothing says "Happy Birthday, Jesus" like stealing a can.
You said it.
No, yeah.
I'm Mel. I am the general manager of Nightshift Brewing, Taproom, and Owl's Nests. Similar to Colleen, I guess, my family is Hispanic, so there's, at any family gathering, there's, beer all over the place. Herejía, specifically, it's, the El Salvadorian lager. But I think my first memory of being able to, purchase beer on my own, and I'm just yeah, this is beer. I was living in New York at the time, and it was a bodega because they sell everything. It's the one right across from my house, and it was a 40 of Valentine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, big, it had a big green bottle, and I was yeah, $2.99, not even.
Oh, yes.
And I was I'm gonna bring this upstairs, and I'm gonna drink it, and that's it.
I love it. I love it.
And
Yeah.
Good times. Good times.
So talk about the scholarship that you were all awarded.
Yeah, for sure. So, Pink Boots, I'm sure your listeners know what it is, but it's an organization that organizes scholarships and then grants them to women in the beer industry. So, a lot of the scholarships, like you kind of mentioned, are brewing related, and brewing specifically, a lot of dudes do it, not a lot of women do it, so it's awesome. It gives women an opportunity to learn about how to make the beer. And a lot of women in our area have won scholarships and done awesome things and learned a lot about beer. But
Yeah, the Boston Pink Boots is the best one.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah.
I mean, truly, Boston raises more money than any other chapter for these scholarships, and then is able to award more scholarships than any other chapter.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. This course, I feel like I'd really been putting a bug in the ear of the scholarship, committee, because I'm not a brewer and I love drinking beer, but I don't really ever want to make the beer. But Pink Boots, as it's kind of growing and more people are getting involved, it involves a lot of taproom staff and a lot of managers. And there is more to know, and there is more about being a better person at your brewery or a better employee than just making beer. So when this course kind of came around and was picked for a scholarship, I was super stoked because it's about being a leader, and anyone can be a leader, and you can brew awesome beer and also be a great leader, and you can not brew beer at all and be a great leader. So yeah, this course was maybe one of the first courses. No stats. I have absolutely no knowledge about that. The first course that I was interested in that was focused on non-production. And it seemed like a really awesome opportunity, as a manager, to become a better manager and hopefully gain some skills that would make my life easier.
Some sweet skills.
Sweet skills. Yeah. So this course was offered through Cornell, which is their online, adjunct school, I guess.
It's like Harvard Extension.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
people who aren't
exactly.
familiar.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So It was totally online. It was, you could do it at your own pace. It covered a bunch of different aspects of being a great leader. And we 3 applied and won the scholarship.
Awesome.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, woo woo.
So I know-
And we're here today because part of winning a scholarship is all about paying it forward. So sharing the information that we learned and trying to pass it on.
I noticed you said leadership, but you never had the other words of leadership in beer, correct? So this was not just a beer-centric course.
Yeah, actually,
it wasn't at all. It's just women in leadership.
women in
right?
leadership.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so that's something we'll touch on a little bit as we continue to talk. But this course comprised of women in all different industries. So there were like cops and teachers and nurses and administrators and us.
Yeah.
I know personally I hated applying for scholarships because it seems like it's more work than it actually has than it actually is. Can you talk about the application process? We have a lot of women in beer who listen to our podcast, and I'm not sure if they are, nervous to submit a scholarship or it's like I'll never get picked. I mean, that was always my thing, like I'll never get picked.
I think it's gotten easier recently too, but yeah, definitely speak on that.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting in Pink Boots. I used to work alongside one of the women that was on the scholarship committee. And as Britt said, we have more scholarships at Pink Boots Boston than any other chapter in the country, which is really rad. But there's a big issue of women just not applying for scholarships. And so there were, so many scholarships when I was working alongside this woman that she would talk about how I can't get people to apply. And she would just be like hollering at women constantly because she has this money that's set aside for this scholarship and there are just no women applying.
It's kind of like a use it or lose it kind of
Exactly,
situation. Yeah.
exactly. And so I would really encourage women just apply. I hear what you're saying and I agree. Like so often we're like, oh, I'm never going to get that. I'm not going to apply. Well, we have the money, so apply for the scholarship. It's there. And if we don't have somebody that signs up, nobody's going to use it. And interestingly, our scholarship, I found out after we were awarded it, there were 9 women that applied.
Wow.
Which is bonkers. So the fact that the 3 of us got it is actually really commendable for us. And so one, take your scholarship, your application seriously, but apply for the scholarship. You're never going to get it if you don't try. And so many of them are phenomenal and women just don't apply and it ends up not getting awarded, which is such a bummer.
Yeah, many of them are like Boston specific.
Right.
Like they have them set aside. So someone from Boston chapter will get it, but you have to apply.
I'm actually one of those women that actually was not planning on applying at all. It was a friend of mine that, tagged me in it in like when there was like the Facebook post and like sending it to me and she's like, you should apply. And I wasn't even considering it at all at the time, which is yeah, so I actually didn't know that there were 9 women that applied for the role, so it just makes me even more grateful.
Yeah, great job.
That I, that I was awarded it because once I looked up the application process, and just to see what it was because I had graduated, I went to college and I had scholarships and the process is so time consuming and you have to get like letters of recommendation, which I did get.
It sucks. You can just say it sucks.
Yeah. It sucks. Yeah. But I looked at the course and I saw what it offered and I was in the beginning stages of a transition point in my career. And I looked at it as an opportunity to really help me to get me through that transition.
Definitely.
And I was super grateful. And when I got a letter of recommendation from my boss, and it was beautifully written. Like I was just like, "Are you sure this is about me?" And I sent that in. And when I got the scholarship, the first person I told was actually my friend who recommended it to me.
Yeah.
Before I even not before I told my mom, but it was my mom and then her, and then the rest of my friends.
And now everyone
That's
on
awesome.
podcast.
And now everyone knows.
The world knows.
So you mentioned this course was at your leisure, so you could do it whenever you want. Was that something that was kind of great to take away from the distraction of COVID? You were like, oh, the world kind of sucks right now, but now I can do this course to have a little distraction. I see yeses.
so
I see
much.
no's.
Maybe not.
For me it was. I liked the because even though it was during COVID, I was still very busy. I was still working full time at the time. So, not having a set time that I had to be in class, and it was kind of just like the class opened on, I think it was Sunday night, and then all work was done by Monday at midnight the following week. So having that, that flexibility to, you just had to get all that coursework done in that time period.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful for me because, we all have different work schedules. And, so for me, being able to get work done at like 10 o'clock at night, like that's perfect for me because like I work in hospitality, management. So, the late hours is, whatever.
So when you're up anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for you to be able to do it at 10:30 at night. I'm in bed. I am in bed.
I was the opposite. I was like, okay, today I'm gonna wake up at like 8 a.m. and bang out this coursework. And the good thing is, like Mel said, so you had 2 weeks, I guess like 13 days for each section of the course, and you could do it all in one day, and then go back and read the other comments or discussions or whatever, or you could do an hour here, an hour here, an hour here. And it was like a super easy little user platform.
Yeah.
But pretty essential to be like, you can do it whenever you want because, yeah, exactly.
You work in hospitality, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it was, women from all sorts of industries. So the only way I think they could have attracted enough interest was by letting it be like totally at your leisure.
Right. Yeah.
And there were a lot of people. I think there was like each session had anywhere between 25 to 40 women taking the course.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Before we get into what you guys learned from it, we have a word from our amazing sponsors. Take it away, sound guy Ryan.
Did you know that your favorite Massachusetts breweries use hops from a local family-owned hop farm right here in Massachusetts?
Our friends over at 4 Star Farms are there for you whether you're a commercial brewery or a small batch home brewer.
Make sure to head over to their website today and get your hands on some of the best and freshest hops available locally. Cheers.
At our local homebrew shop, Beer and Wine Hobby, you can get everything you need to make beer, wine, cider, cheese, and more. Not sure where to start? They have knowledgeable staff there to help. Beer and Wine Hobby is family-owned and located in Danvers, Massachusetts. Visit their website, beer-wine.com, and use our promo code BREWROOTS for 10% off your online order today.
Shirts on Tap is the box subscription service for craft beer lovers. Each month, Shirts on Tap partners up with 7 different breweries from across the country and collaborates on a sweet custom shirt design. We've been teamed up with Shirts on Tap since the inception of the podcast and are proud to announce a new promo code for all of our listeners. To get your first shirt for $5 off, go to the link in our description below and use the promo code. And remember, drink better beer, wear better shirts. All right, so we were just discussing what calendar we're going to do for Brew Roots, and
We got some cool ideas.
I just thought of like the dogs of breweries, but you don't want to hear the other options that we had. No. But
They sounded like winners to me.
yeah, real original ones. So before we were talking about what did you learn, and was it?
Oh, wouldn't you guys like to know?
Yeah.
Listen,
What were your takeaways?
Yeah, what were your takeaways? I can't take the course, so I want to know. I want to be a better leader. So.
Take it away. Okay, it's my turn. So this course had I don't know how to say it. This course had 6 courses.
Sessions.
Oh.
Sessions.
I called them
That's good.
sessions.
Thank you. There were 6 sessions. They were each 2 weeks, as was mentioned previously. And I think that the 3 of us all had different favorites, which is very convenient for this conversation.
Not planned at all.
So the first one that we did was on personality types, and that was my favorite, which was great because I was really excited when we started, and then it was a real bummer because then I was bored out of my mind. But yeah, the first section was about personality types, and I think for me this was really interesting because I'm a brewer by trade. I now do production, run production, so I'm not brewing so much, but my experience is unique compared to Britt and Mel's because they work on the hospitality side, which is much more lady-driven. The brewing side traditionally is much more male-populated. And so the personality types, we went through Myers-Briggs and like all the standard things, so it wasn't anything totally mind-blowing, but it talked about a lot about personalities based on gender, and so they were doing a lot of comparative side-by-side of stereotypically women are this way and stereotypically men are this way. And when you are trying to manage and lead within that space, you should be aware of these dimensions. And so it really got me thinking because I'm very often the only woman in the room. And while I was taking this course, uniquely, Exhibit A's production staff was 50% women. It no longer is. Katie has moved on to Allagash, and Kenzie is now at Down East, which they're doing great. That's a great thing. So I'm, again, the only woman in production. But in trying to take away these gender things and these personality things for my position, I've been trying to find ways to lead more effectively. And so it kind of just put a lens on the whole thing for me that has allowed me to look at my employees differently. So rather than managing from like a task-based or production-driven perspective, I'm trying now to take all of my employees and see them for what their personality is and to kind of analyze them within that space. Like, are they this way because they're a dude? Probably not. I don't really like go by those sorts of roles, but I'm trying to engage with them differently so that I can individually manage each of them more effectively. So as a whole, our production team is more effective and more efficient. And that has been a really phenomenal thing for me to watch. Like, it was a huge stretch initially because I'm very efficiencies driven. I'm very direct. Like, I'm like, let's do this thing. And so now I try, like, months later, have taken all of these things that I took from this course, and there was another course that talked a lot about emotional intelligence, and so like mixing that in with the whole thing, I am now engaging with my staff individually, and our whole scene has shifted. Like, the way that we vibe off of each other now is bonkers, and the way that I even see like the dudes communicating with each other based on how they are and how their dynamics are different and the way that they engage with people is different. I just feel like they're seeing each other and I'm seeing them, and that's a really phenomenal thing. I feel like we're all kind of jiving together, and that our production team has just become way more successful in getting the shit done and making good beer. And that's been super rewarding, and it was 100% because of this course, just getting me to look at the thing and say, whoa, humans aren't all the same.
Oh, no.
So,
Mind blown.
So maybe I should like take that and lead with that and manage people differently, and it's been kind of cool.
Especially with like production too, because I feel like that's such like a dull, quote unquote, right position
Right.
in the brewery, right? So being able to take that and like that's awesome, I think.
Yeah, so like, I don't know, it's been really cool. It's been really, really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Creating a healthy ecosystem.
Right.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
It's very important.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of my experience, like men get into brewing and they don't necessarily think about the whole thing having to work and managing people.
Right.
And I have like had to deal with that in a way that has been really problematic for me. And so I think to feel like we're all engaging with each other because we're humans and because we have personalities and we care about each other, it just feels nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cool.
That is cool.
Mel,
So
what did you
Yeah,
learn?
who wants to
I'm putting
go
all on
from
the
there?
Yeah. So for me, I think the session that impacted me the most was the negotiation skills. So I mentioned earlier about how when I was applying for this course, I was in the beginning stages of a transition point in my career. So I used to be the assistant general manager of the Tap Room and Owl's Nest. And for those that don't know, like, we have that's basically running
A bajillion locations.
Yes, we have a lot. So, I was in that role for a while, and I've been in hospitality for 15 years at least. And it's, I was in that point where, you know, I was thinking, okay, this is basically like, this is what I'm doing. This is, you know, it's always been that it's always been the industry that paid my bills. You know, it got me through school and, you know, all that stuff. Cause like I went to school for biochemistry thinking I'd be in a lab forever.
Cool.
Look at me now.
That's like Ryan went to school for sound engineering. You're just doing it a podcast.
But yeah, and then, you know, I've always worked front of house, and I've done management jobs here and there, but I never really intended to end up in this career path. But, you know, it wasn't until I transitioned to breweries that I really found, you know, that niche area that I really loved working in. So when this scholarship came across, came out. I don't know, like across my desk. I have no idea. But I
was sent to you every 10 minutes.
By all of your friends.
So, you know, I was thinking like, this is something I definitely want to do. I want to, you know, commit to this career path and just like really grow. And I didn't go to school for hospitality management like a bunch of other people that I know did. And, you know, I kind of just like learned it like from the streets kind of, you know, like I did the legwork and, you know what I mean? But I didn't take.
You did it in New York, so like I feel like that's like a whole different animal.
You'd think it's like, it definitely is a different animal over there. But yeah, it's, you know, so I realized I needed to take whatever steps I needed to fill in the gaps of my education, you know, because I had the front of house like working experience and what I'd learned from restaurants that I've worked in. And I wanted to do whatever I could do to really propel me. And then this scholarship came around, and I was just like, it's just, you know, I realized I was like, this is definitely like a sign. I definitely need to, you know, take these opportunities as they come my way while I'm, you know, making these choices about my career. So I applied and I got it, and I was great. Oh, I'm sorry. So cut that. So the negotiation skills. One of the things that I realized while I was taking that session is, you know, we had to do one of the, you know, there's the lectures and the readings, but there's also like a few questionnaires that you can complete during the session.
Like the little practice.
Yeah, like the
practice things.
Exactly. And and it gives you the results afterwards, and it's like if you answered yes to X amount or no, whatever, you know, something like that. And I realized during that exercise that I advocate more for people than I do for myself. Mm-hmm. And whenever it comes to negotiating for like, you know, for other people, I put all my energy into it. Because, you know, if they're a quality employee, and I've done this, you know, throughout my entire management life, that, you know, anytime that there was someone that was really deserving of something, you know,
you'd advocate for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I would, you know, if it's something that they deserved and they needed assistance and guidance, I would be there for them. But I didn't do that for myself. And that's
tough to do for yourself.
It is. It's very tough. And, you know, there were definitely, you know, the course definitely broke down the gender differences, and apparently like women, you know, don't advocate for themselves. They don't ask as much for, you know, what they truly deserve, because they don't want to come across as greedy and you know, all these, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I had never considered that was something that I was doing to myself. Never did that ever, you know, but then I realized, because I, you know, in that process I was applying for the
especially in that situation, you were going through that.
Exactly. Yeah. I was in the process of, you know, applying for the general manager role, and, you know, we, you know, it was offered externally as well as internally. And I, you know, I was thinking, you know, like I really do. Not only do I want to do this, I know that I can do this. And, you know, saying that and you realizing I'm like, I have to prove that I can, not just to like other people, but also to myself. And I have to like admit that to myself. And as strongly as I advocate for, you know, my staff whenever, you know, they're trying to, you know, either move on to another role or, you know, learn something, I have to put that same amount of energy in myself. And that's something I didn't realize I wasn't doing until this session came across, which that was my biggest takeaway. And then, you know, I do like to think that definitely contributed to how I prepared for the interview and everything for the general manager role. And then I I got it. I was very happy.
You gave me goosebumps.
Did I?
I was like, oh, such a great story.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Build up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge.
Well,
we had like a group text going through
Yeah.
this whole course, and when Mel was like, "Guys,
It worked.
Yeah, and yeah,
so great.
yeah, and yeah, I was super proud and super happy, and still, I mean, I introduced myself as the general manager, so like spoiler, like people hopefully I don't know if they caught on, but yeah, I did get the job.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I've been doing it
she's
for a
actually
while now.
famous."
Yeah, so that was definitely the biggest takeaway for me from that role, but a little bit too similar to what Colleen talked about the emotional intelligence. That was something that was a term phrase that I had never heard about before, and I realized that. So I have a staff of 56 people, and that's
huge.
Yeah,
I was going to say that, like, it seems like you have way more, like less, I mean. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, I actually counted. I was like, how many people do I actually manage? And I was like, yeah, and that's including, everyone from my door staff all the way up to my assistant general manager.
Yeah.
Like all of that, because I have seasonal staff, and I'm the hiring manager, so I know like the emotional intelligence. When I didn't realize that was something that I actually had a pretty high emotional intelligence. I'm not exactly sure how it's measured, but because I have to be able to manage and connect with all of these people, because everyone's different, and they all are managed differently.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you communicate, any type of feedback is really important based on their personalities. But I've been with this company for so long that even when I'm hiring seasonal staff, I'm not just looking to put bodies in positions, because all these people were so close and we work so hard together, and I realized I was like, oh, I think that I actually have a pretty high emotional intelligence, because to be able to communicate with all these people, and we have a very high retention rate, and I think that I like to think that the emotional IQ that I have attributes to that. Not tested,
Probably.
obviously. I'm hoping it does.
Not tested, but if it was, that would be amazing. So.
You're really like only as good as your staff. I mean, I've gone to some breweries. I'm not going to name names, but I mean, like, it's like the staff. It just seems like they're there, cashing a check, and
Like a hairy brush, or
like a hairy brush. Yeah.
Dirty hairbrush, some brown guacamole.
It's
And like everyone has off days,
Yeah.
but I think having that connection with the staff is really important
For sure.
in management, especially in hospitality management. For anyone that has experience in restaurants, which is where my entire, I've been in breweries. This is my 5th year at Nightshift, and that's all.
out of 15.
Yeah,
years.
so it's like my
Yeah.
whole life has been restaurants.
Wow.
And that's all I've known. And for those that come from that, they know it's like, can you swear on this?
Yeah,
It's the fucking worst. There's like, people like treat you like shit, and like they, they expect you to like, just like be like giving your blood, sweat, and tears for, this company that doesn't give a shit about you. And,
everyone should work in the hospitality industry for like 1 week, and then it would fix like
All the
90%
problems.
absolutely. Yeah. Cause you get treated like trash, and, transitioning into breweries, that's where like, I feel like where I really found my home. And, yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
That was amazing. So 2 amazing stories. Like, wow.
Yikes. Well, let's see. Mel said a few things that I wanted to say.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, she stole her thunder.
I did warn that I was chatty.
Yeah. No, the thing that Mel said that I wanted to say too is like, this course kind of seemed like, like just this little gift. Like, I've been managing at Remnant since we opened. I was assistant manager at another larger brewery before that. I ran a catering company for a little while, so like been in a management position for a while, but like I didn't go to school for that.
Yeah.
I went to school for Spanish and archaeology.
Duh.
Hell yeah.
So,
Donde está?
donde están las rocas?
We would have been
Where are
friends
the
in college.
rocks?
That would have been dope.
So it is weird, like like Mel said, like you realize you have this high emotional intelligence, and what this course kind of taught us was like, women tend to have a higher emotional intelligence because they like care about people, and men,
Don't.
male leaders, tend to have a lower emotional intelligence and will kind of steamroll people to get what they want done. which is the better way, you know?
Yeah.
And like we're sitting here telling you like emotional intelligence is the better way. Whatever, it's our way.
Yeah.
And it, like I didn't have a word for what that is. It's just like, yeah, I listen to people and then I try to like make them happy.
Yeah.
That's emotional intelligence.
Oh, okay.
And
Good to know.
yeah, I really was excited about this course because I didn't take any hospitality or like HR or managing people courses, and it seemed like I'm at a place in my career where I should know how to do that. So the good thing is that I feel like the course did reinforce a lot of things that I feel like I already am doing pretty well, and it really tried to like break down some things that I know where I can improve. So the thing that I took away, like the piece that I'm still sitting with and trying to like kind of repeat as a mantra to myself, is about feedback and how important feedback is to not only like to correct a thing. Like we think about feedback, it's like someone did something wrong, give them feedback that was wrong.
Did you guys talk about like different types of feedback, like general specific? I don't want to steal your.
No. Oh, you're so excited about the feedback.
Listen, I worked at Apple for like a million years, and I know like it's all psychology of thinking of how to like talk to people. So
totally. Well, so the most boiled down thing that I try to keep repeating to myself is like, don't protect people from feedback they really need and would help them. And that is something for me. I'm kind of like, I'll watch my staff, like, I don't know, have an interaction that was sort of awkward or do something in a way that I wouldn't do. It's not like it's gonna make or break the day. It's not like it's a terrible disaster. That's my experience. But if it could make their job easier, like just give them that feedback. It might make me uncomfortable, and it always does. Like I hate telling people what they're doing wrong. But if it's something that they deserve because it will make them better at their job, like that's the baseline. And
you're almost doing them a disservice if they don't.
I was gonna say it's a good way to think about it. Like you're helping them, right?
Yeah, and that's how I've really tried to like place that to myself. And that, like I said, that is my biggest takeaway from this course. That I'm like, I need to make everyone better at their job, and this is how I get to do it.
Yeah. Do you find as though with delivering feedback, it's better to deliver feedback with like a positive intent, right? Like.
Oh yeah.
Right, cool.
This course talked all about
Compliment sandwich.
Oh yeah.
Delicious.
I feel like we all talk about compliment sandwiches. Something else that was kind of cool is like this course tried to teach us that different generations of individuals kind of want different feedback. So with feedback, if someone's doing a great job, you're like, oh, whatever, they're fine. We don't need to talk. They're doing a great job every day. But this course was kind of like, well, one of the things it said, it wasn't kind of like, it just said.
This is fact.
This is fact, yeah. That especially like millennials are in this permanent feedback loop of social media and constant reinforcement. Validation that those people on your staff constantly want to receive some sort of feedback. And if they're not getting it, they'll think they're doing something wrong, or their job performance will just deteriorate because they don't feel seen or challenged. And that, I was kind of like, oh, wait, I have to tell people who are doing a good job that they're doing a good job?
Don't they just know?
Yeah, I just walk around the brewery now and say, you're doing great. And every once in a while I get back I'm not doing anything.
You're doing nothing great.
Great job.
Yeah, so that was like an interesting little part. And it definitely talked about like just feedback culture. And, you know, as a leader, we can create a positive feedback culture by being consistent, by giving feedback clearly and not kind of like, hey, I'd really like you to do this, but like sometimes maybe not all the time, and like, but you're fine.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right. So just like,
got it.
So,
I mean, that feels like kind of common sense, but even as I was saying, I'm like, I probably do that to my staff. I'm like, it's okay, but like you could do it like this instead. And I feel like it's made me second think, like, what do I need? What is the goal?
have you seen your staff give feedback to others now because you've implemented this new behavior?
No. But
is that something you want to happen?
Not really. I mean, we have such a small team that it's kind of, I am the leader.
Yeah.
And the rest of the staff is really like peers. I mean, I am working on building up to leadership some other folks. But what I am hoping for is just like that when I question myself, what do I need to say? How can I say it? This is what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking, be direct, be concise. Do they deserve to hear this feedback because it will make them better at their job? Then I don't know. It's something that has always made me so uncomfortable, and it was the part of the course that I was most excited about. And I think that it's given me a few tools internally to try and cut to the chase and say what people need to hear and solve tiny, tiny problems.
Yeah.
Luckily, any of the problems that I have are pretty tiny.
Yeah.
Feels good.
So
You're doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we go into what you feel as though it makes a good leader, we have a word from our amazing sponsors.
Do-do-do.
Take it away, sound guy Ryan.
Are you a solo artist, band, podcaster, or anyone else who needs recording services?
Well, we got a place for you where your vision can become a reality.
Welcome to Small Pond Studios, built by hand with heart and sweat equity by musicians for musicians.
Go to smallpondstudios.io to reach out to get more information. And make sure you let them know that Britt sent you. Hey, Sound Guy Ryan here. Didn't know if you heard, but we're a part of the Hopped Up Network. There you'll find other informative podcasts about beer. So go ahead, follow them on social media, and visit them on their website, hoppedupnetwork.com, to learn more about the people, beer, and breweries from around the country. And until next time, thanks for listening. Cheers.
So we're back, and we teased this question on the outro of the last sponsor bump. But what in one word, if you
Or
can,
a sentence.
or a sentence, because I don't think I could do a whole one word. I really couldn't. What is your belief that makes a good leader?
For me, I'm going to say to be intentional about no matter what it is, what your decision, the feedback, anything, but just to have intention.
Yeah.
I am going to say that you have to practice what you preach. You have to.
Damn, that's a good one.
I know. I know. That's
Snaps
okay.
to that.
More than one sentence.
Yes.
It just feels so basic. But if you don't believe in what you're asking of your people,
Your staff will see through you. Yeah.
and if you don't speak in a way that can connect with the people that you're talking to, no one will care what you have to say.
Yeah.
Snaps to that, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Britt, because that's what I was going to say.
I said you can't say what I said.
I'm going to put my own spin on this
Oh.
because I work in a very hands-on environment. To me, a good leader does. They do what they want to see, and they are in the trenches with their people. When it's shitty for them too.
Yeah.
When it's great for everybody. And if the leader is not there experiencing all of it, it's garbage.
Agreed.
Wait, I want to go again.
I wanted to add,
goodness.
I absolutely agree.
Let's just keep this going.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's for production, and then on the hospitality side, for my staff, they know building out the owl's nests, it is dirty, and you don't know if it's a bruise or dirt on your legs, and I'm
Or
there.
rat shit.
Yeah, or shit.
Yeah, goose poop.
Goose poop.
Oh, show.
Yeah, and same. So I definitely will second that. It's definitely that'll be my second sentence. Because
That's my sentence, bitch.
I fully acknowledge that was yours. But yeah, for sure. Because you got to be down there and you got to be in it, like she said, in the trenches.
For sure.
Because then they'll know that they know that you're in it, and
They're not alone.
yeah.
Right, you're not just telling them what to do.
Yeah, wow.
You
Yeah.
are experiencing it with them. So.
Yeah, I feel like what this course taught or tried to teach us is also we exist in a world that has a lot of expectations, and we're gonna continue to talk about this, but
Great segue. Yeah.
this course was very grounded in current gender stereotypes. And so the like what makes a great leader, expecting to be challenged. And like some of the stuff in this course was like, if you're a woman, everyone wants you to be really super nice. And so if you're a manager and you're not super nice, no one's gonna like you. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, okay,
Erica
so
has never been nice to me, and I
I hate everyone.
so as a
I think
manager,
that's a you problem. Erica's
no.
only ever been nice to me.
No,
Yeah,
Erica's
same.
nice to me, right? I'm just kidding.
I guess if you are new to management and you are a woman and you're kind of like, oh, why don't people like me anymore? It's because you're telling them what to do and they're not used to it from a female. Like that is kind
You're
of
my mom.
Yeah, that's kind of some of the stuff that this course really tried to make us acknowledge. Like we live in a world that is, I mean, we're so lucky to live here in Massachusetts where everyone can be whomever they want to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just like, cool. But we live in a world that is based on stereotypes and is based on expectation. And people expect women to behave a certain way, and people expect men to behave a certain way. And then when that comes to leadership, I think we can all look inside us and be like, well, if my manager said a sentence this way and they were a man, I would say, oh, okay, I'll do it that way. But if they were a woman, would you feel the same way? You know, if someone says, you have to do this, I need this done by 5 p.m.
Right.
And this course got us to, I think, just acknowledge a little bit that, you know, like we've all said, Colleen and Mel, when you're communicating with someone, you need to acknowledge their method of receiving that communication and how they were, the course said this word a ton, socialized.
Yeah.
How have you been socialized to expect
your upbringing? Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I mean, to be honest, all of our upbringing has been in a pretty gendered world where
For sure.
dad yells at you, but then also like buys you ice cream, and mom like yells at you, but then also
Gives you hugs.
yeah.
It's also like
But
varied
when
backgrounds
she
though
yells
too.
at you, she
'cause,
does
like,
it nicely. I don't know.
well, I was gonna say like
Never.
varied backgrounds. Like I had no dad. It was just mom yelling at me and giving me ice cream.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know,
Best of both worlds?
Yeah, my dad never bought me ice cream.
Same.
Wah, wah.
My dad bought me a bicycle, and then he drove his car over it. Oh no! Accidentally.
That's another episode of the podcast.
Oh my God. Stay tuned for more.
How Brittany lost her mic coming up her bike next week. Yeah.
But anyway, so we were all like, we all obviously gained from this podcast. We all got something to take away and something
this
that
course.
we're
From the
using.
podcast. I like it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, we're saying the things they're gaining
Right,
from the
right.
podcast.
Yeah.
You're getting
This
from us.
podcast is the best day of my life.
Yeah, thank you.
But the course, yeah. So we all gain things. We're using them in our day to day.
I only took the course so I could be on this podcast.
Yeah. hell yeah.
Yes.
And so we wanted to talk a little bit about like, you know, not just what did we learn, but kind of like, I don't know, the pros and the cons of this course, because we, you know, like we talked about, it's super easy to apply for a Pink Boots scholarship, and we want people to. But we want people to also be realistic about what they are going to face, perhaps.
Yeah. So,
What are they?
yeah. So, what are some of the pros? What are some of the cons?
I don't think I wrote any down, but
We didn't.
Oh, no.
I'll segue off of that. So part of the requirements for this course is called what we call pay it forward. So we are supposed to be presenting something to the women of brewing that they can take away and learn from our experience, right? So we talked about all that shit, which is great.
It wasn't shit. It was wonderful.
But I would like to say to the women in production, at all the levels, see yourself and know that that is okay. You are likely surrounded by men, and men stereotypically are very different from women. And sometimes that's true, and sometimes that's not. But I'm tired of women feeling small because they are alone in a space. And I just really encourage you to stand in that and recognize that maybe you are different, but that's not problematic. And that you can find a way to engage with the men that you work with and the men that manage you and still be yourself and move into whatever your career in brewing is supposed to be by holding on to that thing. That's something that I am trying to do as a manager, is to create a space that's happening for all people that work under me, but for the women in Pink Boots Boston, whoever is listening to this podcast, it's a real thing. Just hold on to that and find a space for yourself, and don't give up. And if you get run over, then fucking walk away. Find a different brewery, because there are breweries out there that will create space for you and want you to be there, and are trying to create cultures of positive space for all humans, regardless of gender or race, etc. That is my pay it forward to the women of brewing.
Damn, I'm inspired.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say a pro from this course is that both Mel and Colleen got promotion. Yeah, woo! But kind of hard to follow that up.
Sorry.
Podcast over? No.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we thought was interesting about this course is that we all work in hospitality, but women who took this course work in all fields.
Yeah.
So I think I mentioned this. There was a woman who was like a police captain. There were a bunch of teachers and various educators. There were people who worked in like hospital complexes, and you're kind of like, oh, a nurse. No, they work like in these massive machines of hospitals.
Yeah, that's definitely something that, so part of the way that this course was, these like sessions were structured is, there was also like a discussion board, so we would, answer questions,
Right.
and based on like whatever, the
A lot of the discussions were like, what is your experience with blah?
yeah,
Right.
like whatever we were focusing on
Right.
that week, and whether it was like negotiation, like feedback, anything like that. And that, I would say that was definitely a really big pro that I noticed is, because for me, I would read, there were, like I mentioned, there was, almost like
50 whatever
people taking,
yeah,
women
yeah.
taking these courses, and, I couldn't read all of them, but, I did look at the ones because that, people, women were in positions of leadership, and how they managed their team, how they handled those situations that they were in, especially like the women that worked in those like high stress environments.
Yeah.
Because we work in beer and we make beer.
Yeah.
But there are those definitely high stress and situations that we get put in sometimes, and I'm always curious to learn like how do people handle these, like how do they, and so that's kind of what I looked at, like the way that I was talking about it to Colleen and Britt was like I looked at the bones, like the bones of it, like I stripped away, the nurse job and the hospital or the precinct or anything like that, like the admin, whatever it was, and just looked at like the situation and how they handled it, whether it was with guests, patients, whatever.
Right.
And because
Handling people is handling people.
yeah, and that I would say that was a pro, like having the varied background of women that were taking these courses, I would say was definitely a big pro for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, big. I don't know. It was pretty demoralizing to read all these stories of women who are like, I
Yeah.
am on a board, and whenever I have an idea,
No
everybody
one
ignores
listens.
what I say.
Yeah, that
And
was
it was actually pretty
gross.
eye-opening. I feel really fortunate to be a woman in leadership in my place of work, and
Respected.
Yep.
yeah, like
Definitely, yeah.
like people listen to what I say, and if
Yeah.
they didn't, I don't know what I would do. I wouldn't be able to function. So that was pretty. It really again made me realize that we're lucky to be here.
yeah, highlighted the support that we had for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like Mel said, all of those industries we all deal with the same things, which is just like, how do you get your voice heard? How do you make people listen to your voice? And how do we do that while respecting like our colleagues? Some colleagues are super disrespectful, and you still have to like work with them.
Yeah.
There were a lot of stories.
Yeah. All the stories.
And then, we wanted to talk about maybe what could be improved in the course.
Yeah.
How it can evolve
Yes.
for the next.
Evolution.
Yeah, what did you write in that professor evaluation at the end?
Oh, there was one for every session actually.
Every little
Really?
session
Yeah.
was like,
Wow.
what do you think? What do you
Yeah.
rate? How is your...
Was this the first time they did this?
Oh, no.
No.
This
Oh,
course is
okay.
offered, I think, on a rolling basis
Okay.
every 6 months.
Okay.
Well, it was in person first. I think it just recently, like
Probably.
the last 2 years, has been moved to also available online.
Cool.
Pretty cool. I never would have done it in person.
I was gonna
No.
we can
Yeah.
get to that, yeah.
Can't go
Yeah,
there.
that would
No.
be awful.
Oh yeah, I know.
Can I
start?
roll with the,
Yeah,
with the
please.
cons for sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the sections that we did not talk about was work-life balance, which I was really excited about because I am a work-to-live kind of person, not a live-to-work kind of person.
sure.
And so I'm always like looking for better ways to make sure that life is happening and work is also happening, but they're all okay. So that particular section highlighted a problem that was holistically apparent in this course, but it is like so heteronormative and so gendered, which is tricky, the gender part.
Yeah.
Because it's a women in leadership course, and so on some level it inherently has to be gendered, right? Except it took gender to a fault and said, this is what you're going to encounter every single time.
Okay.
And that was really hard for me.
not our world right now.
It gave no room for humans that aren't women to be good.
It was pretty rough. One little tiny positive that I took from that section was like, what is work-life balance? And I was like, well, you have a work and then you have a life, and your life probably includes planning for your children's childcare, planning to have a child. When are you going to plan for that? Don't put off your career.
And what about your husband? Let's talk about your husband.
Is your partner supportive? Do they take on half the work? Men only do 10% of the housework.
Yeah.
It might have been closer to like 30, but it wasn't
So
high.
like the course is saying like don't play into stereotypes, but here's a stereotype of you. Like,
It was super
With something that
heteronormative.
none of us were able
was
to.
bad.
Yeah, we all were just like, what?
The only part that I was like, oh, I'm going to have to think about that someday was like elder care.
Yeah.
We all do have parents, I
yep.
think.
That's-
And it's like, that is part of work-life balance. Like, do your parents live with you? Do
Right.
you have to plan for their care? But it was kind of like, wait, I thought work-life balance was like going to a yoga class.
I was about to say, that's my initial
That's
thought,
the thing.
right?
It
Like-
wasn't about you at all. Like
Correct.
It was all about the tertiary things, like
Yeah.
of the life
Which
that you
should
have.
be discussed. It's like the whole mental thing, right? Mental health and everything else. Like, how do
None of
you
that.
deal with that?
Yeah, incorporating something that actually has to do with self and not
Right.
the external
Right.
factors in your life.
Yeah.
And I guess, we should all say not to discount those people who want to be mothers and are.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was interesting to be like, oh, someone would not take a promotion because they want to be a mom? I can't comprehend.
Yeah.
But that was like legit a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
section. It was like, don't sell yourself short. You deserve that promotion.
Right.
Yeah.
It felt like literally from like 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
or 20 to
I was going to
30.
say, or even
Yeah.
better.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, we're very lucky to live in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So a little dated.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
It was very
Pretty shocking.
heteronormative
Yeah.
and
And
very
it was-
binary.
it was-
and
Yeah, it was very, for sure. Very, definitely not. The course definitely needed to be updated a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the other cons,
Come on,
or
Cornell.
the things.
seriously.
Get with it.
One of the other things that I did notice that I wanted to, the way that I'm looking at it is it could evolve, and I put this in my feedback for the course. Is we talked about I forget which one of you talked about the feedback based on the generations.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it ended at millennials, which I
There's
think.
Gen Zs now.
Yeah, there's Gen Zs now, and
It talked about how to feedback what's before Gen X.
Baby
the
boomers.
baby boomers.
Yeah. So it's like,
Yeah.
baby boomers don't really want feedback. They think everything's fine. And then
Yeah.
like Gen
And then it was
Z,
Gen X, and
Yeah.
then millennials, and we realized I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm a millennial, but my staff is primarily Gen Z,
Right.
So
Right.
I think that was something, and that's something that I mentioned is this is an opportunity for Cornell to they need to take that step forward
Yeah.
into this next generational.
I mean, that combines with what you were saying as well. There's just so many changes happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just need to update.
Yeah.
They need to get
Yeah.
some some consultants in there.
Do you think that some of these conversations could have? I know we discussed you would not have preferred to take this in person, but do you think some of these conversations would have
come up.
if it was
Absolutely.
with people,
Absolutely.
because I think
Yeah, that's
in like a lecture setting, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that definitely, and just stemming, I went to college late, so I only graduated till like 2017. But I was that student that was like, wait a second, hand up in the air. I was like, hold on a second, like
I have a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
wait a second, what about this, and this?
you were the one that was like, I just want to go home and drink beer.
She's saying something again.
Yeah, I was that kid in school. Well, because I also was like, 26 years old,
Yeah,
like
you're
old,
like,
like I was like
I'm paying for
7 years older than
Yeah.
everyone else.
Yeah.
So I'm like, listen, I'm paying for these courses. Like I'm getting every single cent out of this. I'm like, I'm gonna be the one raising my hand, and it's like, So, but yeah, so, maybe in person, I think virtual was better for where we were in our lives.
Yeah.
I know it definitely was more beneficial for me. However, in person, it would have been an opportunity for us if we were in the course to just be like,
Just the whole
hand raised.
Right.
I would say a good number of things that they discussed. Like I said, if you are female, you are expected to take care. That was kind of a whole little section. Females are we are all expected for female leaders to take care, which is like be nurturing,
Right.
be a little more willing to take the fall or whatever. And male leaders might be a little more take charge. So they're gonna just tell people what to do, not worry about any negative, not worry about it making them look bad.
Yeah.
A lot of that is applicable across any industry. It's just that's kind of how people believe in gender
Yeah.
today. But a lot of the course was not really applicable to our industry, which is the brewing industry, but more,
Yeah.
hospitality and brewing. Mel and I were saying a lot of women in hospitality, hotels, restaurant, front of house, and just front of house. It's taking care of people. A lot of women do excel in leadership in hospitality. And I feel like this course really was geared toward,
Business, kind of?
corporate-y stuff.
Yeah.
So
right,
male-dominated fields potentially.
Right.
Yeah,
And to be fair, Colleen has said the brewing side is extremely male-dominated. And I don't know if you have anything that you want to add about how those gender roles are expected.
I'm still sussing that out a little bit based on the course had a lot of questions. You check the box, are you this way? Are you this way? Comparing, male and female gender stereotypes. And very often I found that I lean more towards stereotypically male gender stereotypes.
That's why we're all leaders.
But I am in a very high leadership position in a production facility that is predominantly male dominated in the industry, right? And so if I was not that way, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
And so I am still kind of trying to figure out, is that okay? Should I have done something
good
differently?
question.
You know, and
it's like an existential crisis.
totally.
Right, because are you
how did I get here?
Are you exhibiting
Is this
quote
okay?
unquote male traits because that's what it takes to
Is this
reach
who
your
I
position?
am, or is this my industry?
Or has it just worked because you're very good at what you do?
Right.
And you're motivated.
Well, that's the thing I always wonder. And honestly, in brewing, I have had more issues managing women than I have men. And I think that might be because I'm more stereotypically this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Take charge.
Yeah, and so I think that there have been instances in which I've encountered women that want me to be softer in my approach, which doesn't really work for me. And so I don't know, I'm still trying to figure that out. That's been one of my biggest challenges as a manager is to maybe be other than I am. It's really easy to manage people that engage and respond to the way that you naturally manage. And so that's part of what I was saying earlier. That's one of my biggest challenges is to see the person and recognize, whoa, they really need something that is not natural to me. Mm-hmm. So how am I going to approach this to actually be a good manager so that I can succeed and they can succeed and our brewery can succeed?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky shit.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously.
For sure. I feel like interestingly enough, I've gotten softer, for lack of a better word. I was raised by a single mom who was, she was the boss at her job, and always that's
At home.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she managed a team of almost 200 people.
Oh, wow.
And it was essentially the equivalent of a catering company, but for the airlines. And so she had to be tough.
Oh, yeah.
She was tough. And that's all I ever saw. So that was my example of how to be.
That's just how you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah, that's just that. That's the only way to be. And
Yeah.
if people don't like you, tough. So that's kind of how I, evolved in this industry. And
Kind of a nature versus nurture kind of situation.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. And
It's like psychology stuff.
oh my God, I know we're diving into it, but it's I think we all have different backgrounds of how we're raised and how we get to be to where we are, and then when I really started getting into management, I always she had to work hard because it was also a different time for her,
Right.
and then when I was taking the steps into where I am to get to where I am now, it's also a different time, and I would come in with a very what is considered abrasive manner, but I realized when I realized that everyone has to be managed differently. That's when I realized I'm okay, there are some people that need the tough love, but there are some people that just need to be. Everyone just needs to be addressed.
Seen.
Yeah,
They wanna be seen.
Everyone wants to be seen.
Right,
Everyone wants to be
right.
seen. Everyone wants to be heard.
For sure.
And they're not just a number on your roster or whatever, or on your payroll
Yeah.
fund. They're personalities, and they're and in order to create a team. Everyone wants to feel like a team. They want to feel like they're a part of something, and that's something that I think is really important in women in leadership in these management positions. Is you have to look at your team, and if you want them to support you, you have to do what you can to support them, and seeing them and hearing them is really important. No matter how many people you have on your team, whether it's 5 or 55.
Right, right.
555.
Or 555, exactly. I think,
555.
yeah, that's
Oh my God, so many fives.
so many fives.
5,500,000.
There's no brewery that big.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But well, I'm super humbled by all of the stories, and I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you guys shared this with us today.
And I feel like this can be taken in any industry. I mean, I feel like this is just important information that will just kind of cross everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
We hope so.
yeah. Thank you guys for coming on our
Yeah.
podcast.
I know.
doing
Thank you
this.
all
I didn't think I could
Yeah.
like your respective breweries even more, but now having this conversation, I guess I'm gonna have to come to you guys some more. So
You gotta leave Salem sometime.
yeah, I know. People think we're sponsored by Notch. It's not a joke. So we're not. I just want our listeners to know.
There's this beautiful echo chamber here, you know?
Yeah, right.
We don't
Yeah.
have one at my brewery, so it's perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Just saying.
Yeah. Thank you guys for hosting.
No problem.
Yeah, thank
Definitely.
you. Absolutely.
I hope people learned a lot by this. We're going to post a link to Boston Pink Boots chapter Facebook page and all of the information. So if you are a Pink Boots member and for some reason don't know how, just apply to a scholarship. There are amazing resources within that community
Definitely.
to ask. Erica can answer.
I'm here. I can help.
Also, if you're not a Pink Boots member,
I was about to say.
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
joined.
Reach out. I only joined the year before last, or officially joined last year, and then the pandemic happened.
Oh, come on.
I know.
Yes.
I know. Well, I'm still
No, I'm
new
saying
to
the pandemic.
Oh yeah, I was like, come on, man. I'm
No, I'm just saying.
new to the brewery world.
No, I'm saying the pandemic.
Yeah, no,
that was
for
a real
sure.
buzzkill. Yeah.
Yeah,
Womp womp.
but yeah, if you're in it, or you like just barely dipped your toes in it, it's a community that is very supportive, and if anyone has any questions or anything, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. I mean, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. I'm just putting Colleen and Brittany out there.
Yeah. Reach out to them. See what
Yeah, reach out to them, see what they say.
Not to mention, Colleen's like the reigning arm wrestling champion.
I know. That was my first Pink Boots event. It was amazing.
None of you can see it, but I'm bright red right now.
You
can
weren't
see it.
that day. If I heard that you were
She
just
was killer.
Yeah, she was
celebrity.
amazing.
You weren't even supposed
Yeah.
to compete, is what I heard.
I
Yeah, it was a
wasn't.
last
I wasn't.
minute thing.
Yeah.
Last minute additions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that behind the
Dang.
scenes stuff.
Yeah, it was bonkers fun though. And to second what Mel just said, the scholarships are great. It's a phenomenal opportunity, but the community that exists within Pink Boots
Yeah.
is amazing. And I think it's important, particularly for women that are the minority in brewing, to experience that reality that there are so many of us and we're all here and supporting each other, and it's great.
Yeah, and we're all kind of on an island, being either there's one manager at every brewery. So if you're the manager, you're alone. If you're in the brew house, you might be the only female there. Pink Boots is the one way we actually get to talk to each other.
Right. And arm wrestle each other.
And arm wrestle each other. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
I knew this was going to be a kick-ass episode. Well,
Until next time.
Cheers.
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 What's up, Brew Roots listeners? We have an awesome announcement for next week. Ryan, I'm so hyped for this one. So who's our guest next
We
week?
got Dino from Vitamin C.
That's fucking right. We got Dino from Vitamin C. You've probably heard of Vitamin C, right? You've seen them on Instagram. You've probably traded for their beer, or you've waited in line to get their beer. I think I've done all three.
Yeah, I've done at least a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you to our listeners. We had an awesome interview this week with Colleen, Mel, and Britt. It's talking about their Cornell scholarship for Pink Boots. That was an awesome episode, and I really appreciate them taking the time out of their days to meet over at Notch and do this episode.
Yeah, and if you're another woman in the beer industry, definitely reach out to one of them and ask them any questions and try to apply for one of those scholarships yourself, because again, they say it, no one really applies. They have all these scholarships and not enough people apply for them. So don't say, I'm not going to get it. Just apply.
That's right. And it gives you good experience too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm very excited for next week's episode. And we continue to get awesome episodes thanks to our listeners. So if you have the opportunity to share our episode on social media, tell a friend, that really helps us out. Tossing us a like is also awesome, but it doesn't help us out as much as you telling someone else how much you enjoyed the Brew Roots podcast.
Correct.
So until next week, cheers.
Cheers.